Revit can report the coordinates of objects within your model or coordinates shared between two models. For example, I'll start the Duct tool and place a vertical duct and horizontal duct. Once objects have been placed in the model, you can determine the coordinates of those objects. I'll switch to the Manage ribbon. In the Project Location panel, if I expand the Coordinates drop-down, I can choose the Report Shared Coordinates tool. When I start the command, the cursor changes and I can see in the status bar that Revit is prompting me to select a reference. If I click on the face of the horizontal duct, notice that in the Options bar, Revit reports the north-south coordinate position of the face of the duct I selected along with the elevation. The command remains active. If I click on the face of the vertical duct, in the Options bar, I can see that Revit is now reporting the east-west position of the face of that duct along with the elevation. If I select a corner, I get both the east-west and north-south position of that corner along with the elevation. If I switch to an elevation or section view, Revit can also report the elevation at the top or bottom of the duct. For example, I'll switch to the South Mechanical Elevation view and then start the Report Shared Coordinates tool again. If I click on the top of the duct, on the Options bar, I now see the north-south location of the face of that duct along with its top elevation. If I click on the bottom of the duct, Revit reports the elevation at the bottom of the duct. Typically, you do not care what the north-south and east-west locations are for ductwork, but this is a great way to quickly report the elevation. You're probably wondering how Revit determines these coordinates. Every Revit project has an internal coordinate system. By default, that coordinate system is known only to the project, and that is fine if you're working on a standalone model whose position is not relevant to other models or to a specific site. If you switch back to a floor plan view, you can turn on the internal coordinate system points. To do this, in the Properties palette, I'll click the Edit button next to Visibility Graphics Overrides to open that dialog. Then I'll expand the Filter list and turn on the Architecture categories. Now, I'll scroll down and expand the Site category. Realize that there is a Project Base Point and a Survey Point that is currently turned off. I'll check the adjacent checkboxes to turn these points on, and then click OK. Back in the Drawing area, you can see a special symbol. This is the Project Base Point and also the Survey Point. If you start the Report Shared Coordinates tool and click on this symbol, notice that in the Options bar you can see that Revit reports that all three values, the east-west and north-south positions, as well as the elevation, are all 0. This is equivalent to the origin in a CAD file. If I select the Project Base Point, I can see this information right in the model. When working in a standalone Revit model, you can use tools in Revit to relocate the project to a specific set of coordinates that you obtain from a surveyor, in which case the Report Shared Coordinates tool will then report the actual coordinates of the project, rather than simply reporting the internal coordinates. Similarly, if you are working on a model with shared coordinates, the Report Shared Coordinates tool will report the actual shared coordinates.